Okay, so now we're going to go over the difference between personal brand emails and direct response emails. So personal brand, pretty self-explanatory. It's when you're building a personal brand, whether you're writing for an influencer or a business that just has a personal brand attached to it. You will have sales emails, and these personal brand types of emails can also be sales emails, but kind of like we mentioned in pillar number 3. Now, the ultimate goal with a personal brands email list is to actually build a genuine, authentic, long-term relationship with the reader, and as a result, revenue will go up. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, you have direct response, where you don't care about building a relationship at all. The goal is simply to make as much money as humanly possible, generate as much revenue for the business as you can. And you do that with emails that are either curiosity emails, they're contrarian emails, so they take a very kind of contrarian point of view. So for instance, let's use Craig Ballantyne, his old fitness business for an example. If you want to burn fat, you need to stop doing cardio. It's a very contrarian point of view, right? You can have topical news things, so things that are like in current events. And these emails are oftentimes much shorter. Emotional stories can be one of those emails too, but they're typically much shorter. And the goal is simply to get the people to click to the link so they can get to the sales page or the video sales letter. So I'm going to show you an example of what personal brand email looks like, what a couple of direct response emails look like, just so you can really understand. So this first one, this is an email I wrote for Steve Weatherford when I was writing his copy. And the subject line is, "I'm so happy this is over." Well, I did it. I finally did it. I completed my half marathon yesterday. And I'm not going to lie, it wasn't easy, but then again, nothing worthwhile in life is. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I have a love-hate relationship with cardio. Slightly more on the hate side, but what I learned in the past 4 weeks training for this run and in the half marathon itself is that I'm capable of it. And that's what you need to remember. Not everything you do is going to be fun. Not everything you do is going to be enjoyable. Not everything you do is going to be something you'll want to do again. But none of that matters. What matters is that you give it your all. You challenge yourself and you put yourself in situations where you're growing and evolving. After all, that's how champions are formed. And you, my friend, are a champion on Team Weatherford. So whatever it is you want to accomplish, recognize that it won't be easy. It won't always be fun, but damn, will it be worth it in the end. Weatherford out. So Steve is a friend of mine. I spent a lot of time with him. This was very clearly written in his voice. This is kind of how Steve thinks, and this is exactly what he was going through, because I was with him when he was training for his half marathon, and notice how, like we talked about in the 3 key pillars, right? Steve is sharing these you elements, right? But then really from this point on, it's all about the reader. It's all about the valuable lesson and takeaway that the reader can get from Steve's experience and his story, right? So that builds that relationship. Steve's sharing what's going on in his world, in his mind, but also how it can help the reader level up their life as well.
One thing that you'll notice with personal brand emails, in contrast to direct response, is this is an example of an email that doesn't have a CTA in it at all, right? I mean, there's no links in this email whatsoever. The purpose of this email was solely to add value to the reader and build the relationship. That's the only purpose of this email. And the reason why Sam and Steve decided to do that is because they were thinking, we're going to add so much value and help them so much that when we do present them with an offer, we have a lot of built up goodwill and we've really strengthened that relationship. So they're really going to want to come to me for the solution, which is the program that we're going to be offering.
And in 3 days, we did about $60,000 in revenue on a primarily digital offer.
And that's incredible. And that's in no small part due to the fact that they had been sharing so much value and building such a strong relationship with the reader.
Exactly. So this next email is a direct response email that I wrote for a high blood pressure offer. So you'll notice a difference in the subject lines, right? I'm so happy this is over versus eat these 4 foods to lower high blood pressure, or why banana splits lower high blood pressure, right? Drug companies don't want you to hear this, but there are actually 4 powerful foods that can normalize high blood pressure more effectively than blood pressure medications. And don't worry, I'm not talking about eating bland, boring celery. No, I'm talking about mouth-watering treats like banana splits. That's right. These foods help normalize blood pressure because unlike dangerous blood pressure drugs that just try and mask your symptoms or make you suffer through nasty side effects, these 4 foods actually attack your high blood pressure at the source by getting to the root of what's causing your blood pressure to rise in the first place. So please, if you or someone you love struggles with high blood pressure, I urge you to watch this short video presentation to discover how these delicious foods can help you say goodbye to high blood pressure for good before it's too late. So notice how there's like a little bit more of like a kind of scary urgency feel to this, and like oh, this is some crazy thing I've never heard of before. It's a gross overgeneralization. There's so much more that goes into that in direct response, but that's just kind of a way to showcase the difference between personal brand email, where you're building the relationship, versus just trying to get somebody to click the link. So we're going to go through one more short example of a direct response email, and then you will have seen and hopefully have a better understanding of the difference between personal brand versus direct response. So the subject line is best drink before bed. My friend Brenda dropped 76 pounds fast by drinking a mug full of fat-burning sleep tea every night before bed. Even better, the recipe is super easy to make, and you probably already have all the ingredients in your kitchen right now. Get the ultra simple recipe in our brand new free report here, right? Notice how it's not really building all that much of a relationship. It's like, I want you to click on this thing, and there's going to be something for you on the other side of it. And that's really the key. Those are the key differences between personal brand emails and direct response emails.
So one thing I want to add just before we wrap this up is, in the direct response world, you'll hear this phrase called churn and burn. And this phrase basically means that you're constantly adding new people onto the email list, and then you're churning through them because you're burning the list. And the way that you're doing that is, you can imagine if you got an email like these 2 direct response examples that Sam showed every single day, because these direct response lists, oftentimes they email out very high frequency, once, maybe
several times a day.
Yeah. And the reason why they're doing this is because they just want to put offers in front of people as quickly as possible so they can make as much money as possible. As a result, they end up burning through their list because anyone that subscribes can only take this stuff for so long. Eventually, they're like, okay, enough is enough, and then they unsubscribe. But the list owner in direct response, they actually don't care, because the approach that they're taking is, we're constantly putting new people onto our list through lead magnets and other methods. And so I don't really care how long they stick around, as long as while they're here, I make money from them. And it really is a night and day different approach to the relationship building style. So in direct response, you can just go hard, you can be aggressive, and you can churn through the list. In contrast, on the relationship side, yes, you will always have people that come in and then ultimately end up unsubscribing. But with the approach that you're taking, you're operating under the assumption that people are coming and they're going to be here to stay. And in doing that, you're creating this long-term relationship with them over the course of many months. And as the person who's writing emails for the list, you're writing as if people are going to be sticking around forever, because you're trying to strengthen that relationship so much that these people are just going to want to stay on the list because they just like hearing from you. And with that approach, you're then going to ultimately end up making sales because the relationship is so strong. But these really are on very much opposite ends of the spectrum. The churn and burn, get them on the list, make money from them, and then burn them, versus bring them onto the list and develop a relationship with them over the long term. Both work, both have their use cases and they're perfectly valid approaches. But when it comes to your clients, you want to make sure you really know what approach that you're taking, because you don't want to live in this no man's land between the two, where you kind of build a relationship but not a strong one, and then you're constantly burning through your list. You really want to know what you're doing.
Yeah, and another point, just to kind of add on to that, and we'll get into this in a little bit in future videos, is there is actually a way to effectively marry these two, where you actually have this relationship building, story-based approach that actually, when it comes to selling with a personal brand is actually the best way to go about it. You build that relationship with a personal story, but then you transition it into a call to action. So you're actually getting some elements of direct response in there, but it's based primarily on building that personal relationship as opposed to just being like having a completely non-personal communication, which a lot of times can be what direct response emails look like to some people.
Right. And I want to be clear, the no man's land that I'm talking about is where you kind of flip-flop between one or the other. You don't really have a consistent approach, where you think, I'm going to send out a story today, and then the next day you're just hard-hitting, get the click, and there's no relationship building whatsoever. And the type that we're focusing on in this program is exactly what Sam was just describing, of blending the two worlds together so that you can build relationships with your readers while also selling to them. Because at least in our experience, that is a really nice place to be. It allows you to write very fulfilling emails that can really help people out a lot, which is something that we really strongly care about. But it also allows you to do selling and make money from your list at the same time. So that's what we're going to be focusing on as we continue through this program. All right.